Okay, Bezos Hashem Yisbarach. This is just a shorter thing. We have one of our dear Chaver here, Menachem Nachum Rindenau's father, Rabbi Rindenau, Olav Shalom, passed away last night, and I have to go to Levaya really soon. So this year is really dedicated to Ili Nishmas Rav Rav Mordechai Israel Tzvi ben Fega Dina, or now I have to say by his father. I don't know his father's name. Mordechai Israel Tzvi. This is a direct descendant of the Me'oranayim, Ben Achar Ben. That's Menachem Nachum, my friend, is mamish named after the Me'oranayim, Menachem Nachum Ternobler. Okay, so first of all, as Hashem Yisbarach, the halacha is in Siman Siman Ayin Reish Hey. Right? In Yeridea Hilchas Sefer Torah, Shulchan Aruch says that you must really have to write the Shira Sayam kahalacha. Kasaf Hashira Kashar Haksav. If you wrote the Shira, right, that's our Shabbos Shira. If you wrote it like any other writing, Osha Kasaf Shar Haksav Kashira, or if you wrote other things in the Torah, the way you're supposed to write the Shira, then it's puzzled. The Mamish Sefer Torah is puzzled. It has to be written special. It has to be written like this, like the way the Shira Sayam looks, as it's going to describe. V'davka shekasaf ashir kashar ksav below pizur. It's dafka if you wrote the song like any other psukim in the Torah, without being spread out on the page. Pizur. Avalim shina bepizur mimashe nahagu lo pasal. So long as you have it like mefuzar, like spread out on the page, that there's empty space. So long as you have some inyan of empty space in there, then the Sefer Torah is kosher, even if you didn't do it exactly like you're supposed to, as the Shulchan Aruch will describe in a minute. Uvad shehei ariach al gabe levena. So what is the definition of the pizur that you have to have? The minimum for it to be kosher is you have to have ariach al gabe levena, which Rashi explains in Masechet Megillah. It's a gavaldic thing. It mamish is the shirish for these halachas are in Masechet Megillah. We're now mamish 30 days before Purim. Baruch Hashem, the light is starting to really shine. And as the Gemara says in Daf Tet Zayin Amud Beis in Masechet Megillah, says you have to write the song. How do they get into it? Because the sons of Haman being hung is also considered a shira, as the Gemara brings. Rabbi Chanina Bar Papa Darsh Rabbi Shela Ish Kfar Timrasa Kol Hashiros Kulan, all the songs. And then whenever there's a song in Chumash or Tanakh, Nichtavas Ariach al Gabe Levena, they have to be written as an Ariach on top of a Levena. And then Levena al Gabe Ariach Chutz Mishira Zu, except for this song, the song of the death of the sons of Haman and of the 31 kings of Canaan and Sefer Yehoshua, Umalche Canaan, that there it's Ariach al Gabe Ariach, Levena al Gabe Levena, my time is shot to hate kuma lemapalasan, so that they're just kind of piled on top of each other and they shouldn't be able to get up, so to speak, like a simon that they shouldn't be able to get back up. But all other songs, and this mamish comes in talking about the song that's written in the Megillah of the hanging of evil of the sons of Haman, comes up the Shira Sayam and the halach of how to write the Shira Sayam. And Rashi there says, Ariach agab levena, Ariach means the writing, and levena because the word lavan, white. And Rashi says, as is the halacha, the white space has to be double, kiflayim min aksav. The white space has to be double the amount of space as the writing. Ariach kiflayim min aksav. That the lashon in Rashi is not exactly Ariach. So I remember the lashons. Kishmak. Lashon in Rashi is chalak, kiflayim min aksav. The chalak, the empty space, has to be double the written. What is this? So that's first of all. That's what Shulchan Aruch says. Even if you didn't write it exactly like you're supposed to, but if you have writing over emptiness and writing over emptiness, and the emptiness is double the size of the writing, you're good. But how's the lechatchila? Is Shir Sayam Kuzmas Bishloshim Shita supposed to be written in 30 lines? Shita Rishoina Kedarka, the first one goes across. Ushar Shitais, Achas Menichim Be'emtza Revach Echad, Ve'achas Menichim HaRevach B'shnei Makomos. Like, and then as you go down the Shira, you have the space in the middle, and then the space on the two sides, and the space in the middle, and the space on the two sides, right? And that is the lechatchila of how Sefer Torah needs to be written. It comes out that you have like kind of three sort of columns going down. Every place there's writing, there's space underneath, and every place there's writing on top or under it. And that's the way the Shir Hayam needs to be written. So I want to just give a short thought on this. It's hard to keep it short because there's so much Torah. But I got to get to this Levaya, and I have to be my Kinderlach, and my wife needs also. So first of all, in Reb Nassan, in Hilchas Orla, in Yoredeya, Orla Halacha Hey. So Ois Tezayin. So first of all, he's bringing in terms of Purim, because we're within the 30 days, right? And this whole din comes from Hilchas Purim, comes from Mesechtes Megillah, is that he says, Vayhi b'yamei Achashverosh, and it was in the days of Achashverosh. Vayhi b'yamei Achashverosh. Says Reb Nassan, what is this inyan of the beginning of the Megillah? It says, the inyan of the beginning of the Megillah was about the breaking of, and the whole inyan of Purim is about, and the whole inyan of Geula in a big way, is to break the gaiva, to break the ego, and reveal Mamish Hashem underneath, and become each one of us a conduit for Hashem's light. As we're going to speak about a little bit in depth, the way Rabbi Nachman talks about gaiva is really incredible. But first of all, just a hint from Purim. It says, "Vayhi b'yamei Achashverosh." He says that the depths of humility is to say, you know what, all I have is today, and this is relating to Menachem's father. Mordechai Yisrael Tzvi, Fegadina, is that Hageus, humility means to realize, you know what, I'm alive right now. All I have is right now. Hayom im bekolo tishmau. Mamish, this moment. The depth of humility is to mamish tune in to the specialness of this very moment, right? That's humility. Aval hageus hu ahefech mikol zeh. Gaiva is the opposite. Shemizgoa bedaito veroteli snag bigdulos ki'ilu yamav rabim. As if I have many days. If it feels to us, this is so deep. If it feels to us like, oh, I've got lots of time. I don't need to like grab this moment to mamish connect to the people next to me, to really daven, to really learn. I don't need to, like, this moment's not so special. There's so much time. That's a feeling of gaiva. That's a feeling of ego. He says, Hageus hu ahefech mikol zeh shemizgoa bedaito verot lisnag begedulos ki'ilu yamav rabim or ki'ilu yesh kvius liyamav. As if my existence has like some kind of it's set, it's here. No, only Hashem has that kind of existence. We don't know. We don't know how long we're here for. Right? Alkein vayhi b'yamei. That's why the whole beginning of the Megillah, vayhi b'yamei Achashverosh, is a lashon tsar. There's a Chazal say lashon of tsar, of trouble, because that very attitude itself of vayhi b'yamei is mamish a gaividik attitude, and such a beautiful thing to break this. The humility is to say, wow, I have no idea. I'm just here now. It's unbelievable that I'm alive right now. I don't have any guarantee for tomorrow. That depends on God, right? Humility is to realize, is to have hakaras hatov, to recognize Hashem is like giving me life every second. There's no, just the fact that I'm alive now doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to be alive 5 minutes from now, or 10 minutes from now, or a day from now. It doesn't mean we have to take like a crazy emergency attitude of it. It doesn't mean like every second is an emergency. It means, right? It means to realize every moment is so special, and to not think that we've got a million years and we can put things off. It means to really live in the moment, right? And we're going to sharpen this idea in a second. So Rav Nassan says earlier in the same halacha, or lahei, he says, he connects up Kriyas Yamsuf actually with Tu B'Shvat. He says, the Kriyas Yamsuf also, Paro's whole thing was Gaiva also, like he says in the Navi, Lihaya Or Vani Asitini, was the Haftorah a couple pages ago. The Nile is mine and I created myself. That's Ani Asitini, that's how the Malbim understands Asitini. That's like the most Gaividic thing you could say. I created myself, right? There's a sense, the same idea of having many days like Achashverosh. I created myself. There's no beginning. I don't have to thank Hashem. I don't need to feel like God is giving life to me every second. Malkina Geula Haisaide Moshe, and so the Geula was through Moshe, who was the opposite of Paro, who was Anav Mikol Adam. His whole thing is humility, right? And he says that's also why the Targum says Ashir Hashem. What's the first thing we said? I will sing to Hashem ki ga'o ga'ah. What's ga'o ga'ah? Says the Unkelus. I raise goy al gevasanya. That Hashem's put his pride and broke through the pride of Paro. The main inyan of the splitting of the sea is the splitting of our gaiva, right? There's this sea that it feels like, right? And to split through that is to reveal Hashem's malchus. It starts with that Hashem's pride, which is truth and real and refreshing and wonderful, breaks through all of the human pride. And that's why the song ends with Hashem Yimloich La'olam Va'ed, which is Hashem's malchus, the true kingship of Hashem coming through in the world. And it says this is also the inyan of Tu B'Shvat and B'chlal of the month of Shvat, and specifically the last triad of months. So Rav Nosson goes on to explain. I'll just say this outside. We'll finish in about 5 minutes. Ois Vav, he goes on to explain an incredible idea. This is from Torah Yud Daled Likutei Moran. The Rabbeinu says there are four levels that we have to have in terms of humility, and they parallel the 4 different types of husks of klipot that there are in the world. We know the idea of a klipa, right? And that the first 3 are utterly tameh, have to be avoided completely, and the 4th one is where there's this deeper work to lift up that klipa into holiness, right? It's called klipas noiga. We see it by Eliyahu Navi, and that there was a great noise, but lo barash Hashem, and a great wind, lo baruach Hashem, and a great fire, lo ba'esh Hashem. Kol demama daka, that still small voice, represents how we can hear Hashem if we can lift up that 4th klipa. So he explains as follows, that I have to have humility before people who are greater than me. No second way about it. We have to have humility before everyone we meet. And the first group are the people who are greater than me in whatever way. And I have to have humility, the second level, the second klipa tmeya, before people who are equal to me. That for sure. And really, mamish, learn from them. And then, mamish, we have to have humility before people who are lesser than me. And one way to think about that is children, right? Ageism is such a crazy thing. Oh, I'm old, I know, I'm smarter, I'm bigger, I'm richer, I'm more powerful. To have humility before those who are less than us also. Those are the first 3, that we have to have humility before everyone we meet, to really believe that we can, who knows, they can mamish give us a true insight and really break us out of our stuckness. And the 4th level is an incredible thing, which responds to klipas noiga, which is the main avoida, he says, of humility, because the first 3 kind of go without saying, they're also really important, but the 4th level, and lifnei madregas atzmo, is to have humility before my own self. Shidme beinav ki'ilu lo ba'adayin lifnei madregas shehu. You should feel in your mind as if you haven't even yet come to the level that you're actually at. And he actually relates this to pasuk and apasha shevu ish tachtav, that each person should sit below their level, that to look up to yourself. The way I like to think about this means of having humility before your own self, means to say, wow, I get to be me, which the Bavlicher Rebbe says that's pshat, that the sun is always singing its song, and Yehoshua told the sun to stop. Means Shemesh Begivon Dom, to stop singing its song. The sun's movement is created by its song, and the Lubavitcher Rebbe taught in a Sicha that the song of the sun that it sings is the song, wow, I get to be the sun. It's so happy to play that role. It gets to be the sun. And each one of us, the humility before our own level, the way I like to understand the story you Daud and Likutei Moharan is the humility, wow, I get to be me. Wow, I get to be me. To look up to your own self. Shavu ish tachtav, which is a pasuk in our parsha, right, about the man, to sit below yourself. Mamish, incredible. So Reb Nosson relates these 4 levels to the 4 groups of 3 of the months of the year. There's the first 3 months, which is Nisan, Iyar, and Sivan. That corresponds to having humility before those who are greater than me. The next 3 months of Tammuz, Av, Elul is humility before those equal to me. The next 3 months of Tishrei, Cheshvan, Kislev is humility before those who are lesser than me. And then these last 3 months that we're in, Teves, Shvat, Adar, is mamish the avoida of being humble before my own self. Incredible thing, which is the ikar of Nosson writes that really, this is the place where we can really grow the most. He says, Shesham ikar habirur, right? V'hatkufa hi gimel chadashim Teves, Shvat, Adar, and mamish Satu B'Shvat comes out to be the middle of the middle month, which is also corresponds to 4 parts of the eye, and the pupil is the 4th part. And so the middle, we're just one day after it. We're holding in a space of being able to have that humility. And so Be'ez Hashem, the song that the sun sings is, wow, I get to be the sun. The song that we each sing is, wow, I get to be me. The song comes from breaking out of that sense of Vahi be may. I have all these days. I'm in charge. It comes from breaking out of things being the same all the time, and being excited to get to play the role of our own selves, to be humble before our own selves. Wow, I get to be me. And in this way, this could be a parallel for the halacha that we learned at the beginning, that there has to be double the empty space to the writing. Means we have to pull back and not fill everything up with writing. We have to pull back from our own perception of our own selves, realize there's a mystery, there's a wonderful there's a wonderful there's a wonderful journey of being ourselves that can never be put into words. And when we can break out of that sense of everything just being filled with words, of the sea just being filled with water, of our life being filled with days, and we could pull back and say, whoa, I'm alive right now. I get to be me right now. Be'ez Hashem, through this can come the song. Through this opens up the space for the sap in the trees to rise as it is now, as it began yesterday. And Tu B'Shvat, as the Gemara says, when the sap in the trees start to rise, there's an inner life energy that's flowing and growing. As Hashem, we should be zeicha to sing that song. Ashir Hashem ki ga'o. Hashem's real pride can come. So this is where creativity comes from, when I can step aside from myself and not be the one doing it. Just be excited to be able to let this magic of whatever Labish is, and each one of us to come through. This is what can allow for that great song when we're not holding on. We're not mastery of all the words. We're beyond words, and the emptiness is double the space of the words. That this can allow for true creativity, true leadership, true presence to flow through us, like the sap in the tree. And Be'ez Hashem, like the simcha of Purim should begin with this. With now that we're in the 30 days before, we should have it all year and every second. Chaim, good Shabbos, good Shabbos, good Shabbos.
Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.